welcome back. Thank you for joining me again. You're here with Grey Board Gamer for the continuation of my playthrough of Eldritch Horror by Fantasy Flight Games. As you can remember from our other turns, we have a lot going on. We have 4 open gates. Not only do we have 4 open gates, but they're all red gates. If we cannot eliminate some of these gates before the Omen track, which is only 2 steps away from red, that'll probably be the end of our game for us. We also only have 2 locations, the existing one and one more, left for this active Mythos card. So we've got to get that taken care of also, which is over here in the Amazon currently, and it's protected by the Serpent People. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough to win this one. We're going to have to take some chances and give it a shot. Also, our new investigator that is joining us is Charlie Kane, the politician. He starts with 4 health and 8 sanity and has a couple of abilities that could be handy. For his action, another investigator of his choice may perform 1 additional action. He does that immediately. And when you perform an acquire assets action, you may allow other investigators to gain any cards you purchase. We may need to take advantage of those here near the end of the game. He starts over here in San Francisco, and he also starts the game with the personal assistant that gives him an additional influence and also allows him to re-roll a die during influence tests. We're going to dive right in and start with our lead investigator, Norman Withers. Norman is currently detained and can only perform this local action on this card, which is we need to test his influence to see if he can discard this detained condition. Unfortunately, Norman only has an influence of 1 and only gets 1 chance to get rid of that detained condition. And since he lost his blessed condition previously, that is a failure. Next we have Akachi in Istanbul, and like I said, I'm going to need to take some chances. The first thing I'm going to do is prep for travel and get a rail ticket. Then I will move her to that city on space 16, use my rail ticket, and move on to Tunguska. Our new investigator, Charlie Kane, is here in San Francisco. I'm going to have him come over here and meet up with our fallen comrade, Jim. But before I do that, I'm going to have him test his influence and see if we can acquire some of these assets. Charlie has an influence of 4, and he has a personal assistant that gives him an additional influence, and we can re-roll 1 of these if we choose to. He gets 2 successes. We'll choose to re-roll 1 of these and still end up with just 2 successes. Charlie had 2 successes. I'm going to purchase the hired muscle, and thanks to the action on his card, it says that when we perform an acquired assets action, we may allow other investigators to gain the cards you purchase. And we're going to give this hired muscle to Akachi. For his second action, we're going to move Charlie Kane onto the city space here where Jim is located to have an encounter. And Mark in London will stand back up. Player actions are completed. First encounter we're going to have is with Norman Withers. He has his detained condition. And instead of resolving an encounter, we flip this card. Holding cell. Your captors rarely speak except to interrogate you for information. You don't think you can hold out much longer and you hope the guard that watches your cell might take pity on your soul. Spend 1 clue or test influence -1. Okay. Let's see. He has 1 clue and he only has 1 influence. Do we want to waste our clue? Wait a minute. With Norman, once per round, I can spend 1 sanity in place of spending 1 clue. So I'm definitely going to do that. He has 3 sanity. I'll spend 1 to take him down to 2. So if you fail, but I didn't fail, I spent the clue, and then I can discard this card, which means he will no longer be detained. Next we have Akachi up there in Tunguska. Normally you would have an encounter with those monsters first, but she's definitely going to use her Mists of Relay spell, and it says during the encounter phase you may test lore. If you pass, you may choose an encounter as if there are no monsters on your space, then flip this card. So we need to test her lore and see how successful we are. Akachi has a lore of 3, and she has an ally in the Arcane Scholar, which will give her an additional 1. And then we have the ability to re-roll 1 of the die. We have 2 successes. We'll re-roll 1 and finish with 2 successes. Akachi was successful. We need to flip the card. She had 2 successes. So on the 2 or more success, you walk forward boldly knowing the mists will keep you hidden. No additional effect. Then flip this card. So that was a very successful casting of the Mr. Relay, and now we can have an encounter as if those monsters were not there. She doesn't have any clues, so we can't go for the mystery, but we can go for the clue that is there and have a research encounter in a wilderness space. You discover a 20-foot tall gray metallic cone. Gain this clue. You try to make sense of the alien technology inside. Lore check -1. Again, Akachi has a lore of 3 and the Arcane Scholar, but this lore check is at a -1 disadvantage, but we can re-roll 1. And she got no successes, so we'll definitely re-roll 1. And still fell. The only text on here is an if you pass text, so we didn't pass, so that does not happen for us. But prior to that, we still are able to gain this clue for Akachi. So all in all, that turned out pretty good. We gained a clue and no ill effects happened to us by failing that test. Charlie Kane, our politician, is here in the location where Jim fell and gave in to his injuries. He's going to have an encounter with Jim Culver. So we'll flip over Jim's card and look on the crippling injury. Seeing Jim in this hospital bed is heartbreaking. He hands you a key to a safety deposit box. Gain all of his possessions. The severity of his injuries means that he'll never speak or play music again. You gently try to coax him into writing down everything he's learned. Test influence. Charlie Kane has an influence of 4 and a personal assistant. It gives him an additional influence and ability to re-roll. We don't need to re-roll. We succeeded. If you pass, Jim fills a dozen sheets of paper with arcane illustrations. Retreat doom by 1. That helps. We can take our doom back from 5 back up to 6, which buys us a little bit more time. Jim's token will get removed from the game, and we'll move on to Mark Harrigan. Mark Harrigan is in London, where he will have an encounter. In exchange for a generous donation, the Penhew Foundation will happily show the results of its global explorations. You may gain a debt condition to gain 2 clues. Not only is that tempting, but at this stage in the game, I feel that it's a must. So we will gain that first debt condition we see. Give that to Mark, which allows us to gain 2 clues, which we desperately need clues. 2 clues for Mark. Now that gives Mark a total of 4, so we definitely need to get Mark over there to Tunguska, or over here to the Amazon. There's a long way to go for both locations. We forgot to fill the reserve here. Next card that comes up is the Silver Twilight Ritual. When you gain this card, immediately retreat Doom by 1, then discard this card. Well, that's definitely something that we might have to work towards getting. Just buy ourselves a little bit more time on the Doom track. That'll end all of our player actions. And time to draw our Mythos card. We have our next Mythos card. First, we're going to spawn 2 clues and then put one of the mystery tokens on space 2. Let's get those 2 clue tokens out. First one will be in the heart of Africa. And our second clue will be on space 17, which is over here in India. Space 2 is over here by San Francisco. And we're going to need 4 Eldritch tokens. The strange phenomenon is an echo of the catastrophic destruction of Mu. The repercussions of the Serpent People's overreaching ambition still takes their toll. Fractured reality. This is an ongoing rumor. As an encounter, an investigator on Space 2 may use an ancient portal created by a long-dead wizard of Mu. He resolves an other-world encounter. If the effect allows him to close this gate, solve this rumor instead. When there are no Eldritch tokens on this card, advance Doom by 1 for each gate on the game board. And then, as a reckoning effect, you discard 1 Eldritch token from this card, which starts with 4 of them. I will place this card over here so we don't forget about it. Then we have 4 Eldritch tokens that I need to get that will be placed on the Fractured Reality card. And that is all for our Mythos phase this time. That definitely was less painful than our last couple of Mythos effects we've had to deal with. We have a lot of red gates open that are only 2 steps away from really hurting us on the Omen track. We really have to get rid of the Secrets of the Past. We have a lot of turns to worry about the Fractured Reality. We still got 4 tokens on that. We need to get some of these gates closed, And we need to get the Secrets of the Past. It's currently in the Amazon taken care of. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next turn, and maybe, just maybe, we'll make some good progress in that one. See you there.